Hello everybody, my name is Tivagogo. Welcome back to Beyond the Reverie. This was insane. Check it out if you haven't, the last episode. Basically saw a little glimpse of what happened to Renne 10 months after Reverie, and we also got insight into potential bad guys in the Calvard arc, and one hell of a woman who actually, with ease, defeated Renne, so it was actually epic. So, anyway, let's carry on. April, year 1208 of the Septian calendar. Oh, school music. Aramis? I'm going to go with that. Aramis Academy is a famous educational institution in the Calvardian capital of Edith. The name derives from an artist central to Calvard's democratic revolution 100 years ago. This is also reflected in its goal of nurturing new talent and helping to forge a brighter future for a new republic. Wait, is this a Coastal 1 school theme? No, I think it's Coastal... I can't remember. The Academy placed great value on traditional education, of course, but it also encouraged the perspectives of new cultures and values, attracting many an independent mind from across Zemuria. It was a... Wait, is this Coastal 1, right? 20 Arrives on the Train. I think... Wow, I haven't heard this song in a while. Anyway, it was a storied place of learning that reflected the Republic's views as a whole. This story, for its part, begins not long after the Springtime Festival held yearly to welcome the new student body. Just another morning at the Academy, countless students shuffling through its grounds, when one of them in particular happened to draw an unusual amount of attention. The young lady had long, soft, violet hair, crowned with a black ribbon. Her figure had been cut very respectably as she matured into a young woman of 17 years, and yet her face still held traces of girlhood days bygone. The beauty she was, she never failed to turn inquisitive heads as she strolled along. Ooh, Renne! Hello. I wasn't expecting Renne. Yes, it was Renne, yeah. Her name was Renne Bright. She was a second-year student from Genis Royal Academy in Lebeau, now studying at Aramis as part of an exchange program. Oh, okay, I get it. This is what happened to Renne after the event. She had only just arrived in the spring. Renne's goal in attending was not to further her education. She had been considered highly gifted since she was a child, having already earned several doctorates, oh my god, in years past. And there was little more a new academy could reasonably teach her. Her goal, in reality, was to use it as a front to operate freely in Calvard. Of course it was. It was hard to find one better than being a student. She already found the role relatively foolproof during her time at Genis. Even if there were limits to how much a student could get away with, society as a whole was soft on school children. Too soft. That's a debate for another time, Joe. To move freely would also require drawing as little attention as possible. She aimed to conduct herself modestly, as any elegant young lady who wished to remain unseen should, during her time at Aramis. There was just one very big problem with this plan. Good morning, Miss Bright. Isn't she just gorgeous? Look, I see her. She's so beautiful, and everyone says she's just as smart too. All she had to do was walk down the hall to be showered with greetings and whispers of envy and admiration. Her looks alone were already enough to make her the talk of the school, and after one of the teachers let slip that she received a perfect score on her entrance exam, there was suddenly not a single person who didn't know her name. Very good job incognito there, Renne. The other students cared not how much she wanted to avoid drawing attention. She was guessing at whether she liked it or not. Naturally, not everyone was pleased with the booming popularity of this new transfer student had attained in less than a month. While most were busy falling over Renne's arrival that morning, another group watched the charade unfold from the shadows, echoing audible tuts of displeasure. It's a school in England. You don't know we tut to literally everything. It's like the most passive-aggressive thing we do. Oh god. Oh god. Oh honestly. Oh this. Yeah, like that. Anyway, Renne had yet to be enrolled in any clubs. It's like Persona, but in Trails form. I love it. So as soon as the day's lessons had come to an end, she packed her belongings and stood to leave. A word, if I may, Miss Bright. It was a fellow classmate surrounded by a small faction of students clearly loyal to their king bee. No, he already looks like a douche. Sorry. First impression. Certainly. Though instinct told her this was not going to be a conversation she wanted to have, she made an effort to pretend otherwise. She would not be provoked into behaving as anything but a mature, modest young lady. I've been wanting to get to know you better for some time now. You see, so I was wondering if you might join me for dinner this evening. Very formal. The boy, Ronald Griffith, presented a gentlemanly smile. Renne was very much used to being asked out like this, Never once did she accept, she always made up some excuse to turn him down. Today would be no different. I'm ever so sorry, but I'm afraid I have something urgent to take care of after school today. Some other time, perhaps. It was usually enough to get him to give up, but Ronald was a persistent one. Well, that won't do. I have something very important to discuss with you, and I've already booked us a table at a very fine restaurant, so we could discuss in detail. Is there really no way your business could wait? There was something ominous about his smile. Renne couldn't help but be curious what he was thinking. I'm afraid it can't. I'm so sorry after you've gone out of your way to prepare ahead of time. Still, I could spare a little time now, so I'd be happy to talk here if that's alright. So not tonight then. A pity. Ronald's tone read one less of genuine sadness and more irritation, that things were not going according to plan. Well aware that he let slip his true feelings on the matter, he quickly composed himself and smiled. Sorry, I'll stop doing that. Now is better than never, I suppose. This does concern everyone in the room, so perhaps it's all for the better that I said here. This Renne glanced around the room, noticing that only she, Ronald, and his lackeys were all who remained. Most were likely on their way home or in their respective clubs. While some would have ordinarily been in the classroom at this hour, she was certain none wanted anything to do with Ronald and his group. He took a step towards her, then began to speak. I'm well aware, Miss Bright, that you have come all the way from distant Le Bourg to be here. Sorry. It's not unusual for students to transfer from afar for family reasons. But I hear, in your case, came to Calvard just to learn in these hallowed halls. I can't help but deeply admire your spirit and thirst for knowledge. Not as thirst as you, my dude. Honestly. Pure theatrics, this one. At the same time, I worry about you. Brilliant you may be, but living alone in a far-off land must be terribly lonely and challenging affair. We all need someone to depend on in our lives, and that would be especially so in your situation. So if you don't mind me saying so, Miss Bright, I believe you're in need of someone to look after you, to protect you. He really has no idea. Renne could cleave you in two, my dude. At last he shut up, giving Renne a chance to respond. She scrutinised him closely. In short, you'd like me to join your circle of friends, correct? Ronald's smarmy smile broadened. His father was a senator in the Republic's parliament, meaning he held a significant amount of political power. Oh, it's like patty cakes. He's literally Calvard's version of Patrick. His son used this to his full advantage. Ever since joining the academy, Ronald had used his father's name to form a faction of sorts among the students, possibly building his reputation until he was the leading candidate for student council president in the election stage in half a month's time. His goal, Renne assumed, was to bring the hottest talk of the academy into his faction, to further secure his chances of victory. I think you'll find that joining us would help you feel much more secure and at home here. Or perhaps you don't yet appreciate just how much of a difference having someone like me backing you would make on the life of an exchange student. True, she mused inwardly. Being in a group of high social standing would make it easier for her to gather information. If she could leverage his father's connections to build more of her own, that would pay itself in dividends to the days to come. The pompous boy had no way of knowing the actual circumstances that brought her to Aramis, but his proposal was, in fact, very beneficial to her. She returned his smile with a modest one of her own as she answered, "You're kind to think so much of me. I'm afraid I'll have to decline." Clear, unambiguous rejection. Story of my life. Ronald's lips were still curled into a smile, but he could not hide the twitch in his brow, nor could his lackeys hide their shock. They had, by all accounts, expected her to answer the opposite. "Are you sure you won't reconsider, Miss Bright? Surely someone as brilliant as you yourself can see why accepting my offer would be in your best interest. I fear if you don't now, you may, come to regret it." The last words were a hair slower and deliberate to intimidate her. Renne, of course, was never going to fall for it. I'll admit, it is tempting proposal, tempting enough to inspire one to consider helping a certain someone win the student council election. If only that someone weren't you. Oh, yes. What did you just say? The sudden taunt caught him completely off guard, resulting in a flare of irritation escaping him. Renne, for her part, was unruffled by the change. I imagine you don't need me to explain why, but I will to be sure. I am very aware that the threatening glares I always attract on the way to school every morning have been coming from all of you. They've been a constant in my life ever since just before the festival. All were flabbergasted by the statement, their silence confirming what she said to be true. She continued, Now you have every right to regard me with caution. I'm well aware of how much I stand out, despite my best efforts. Taking potential threats under your own wing is a strategically sound move too. However, that your target was so easily able to see through your scheme shows everyone here just how inept you really are. Wow, this is already cutting right to the deep. I have better things to do than assist someone so incompetent and small-minded. With a shrug and a sigh in somewhat dramatic fashion, Renne stood before Ronald, his shoulders trembling from rage. Good day to you all. Renne gave a courteous nod of acknowledgement before leaving the room, paying no mind to the wide eyes and open slack jaws she left behind. Oh my god. Go Renne. Man, it's Renne. She's not going to take any crap, let's be honest. So Aga ended up getting pretty beat up from another one of Mum's crazy jobs she threw at him. Oh dear. We did get some good data out of it, but ouch. Your mum is always so funny. That night in the dormitory, Renne and Tita were engrossed in deep conversation through their laptops. Oh my god, adult Tia and adult Renne. That's weird, isn't it? But it's always same old with all of you. I'm surprised there's anything left of Aga, with how often you tell me she has him nearly facing death. You two are in a rut. I know something could spice things up. Maybe try adding a little romance to the mix, like a couple of bright-eyed lovebirds we know. Ah, but we have agreed to go somewhere next week, so we're not like, oh, they're actually dating. It looks like, so we're not in a complete rut. Well, isn't that something? The stairs to adulthood await you, my dear friend. Yes, Renne. Tita graduated from the branch campus in Erebonia just as Renne left for Calvard, leaving them no time to spend one another in person. That wasn't ideal, of course, but from a hint of sadness came the habit of talking like this once a week so they could stay in each other's lives. They discuss anything, from their new lives and environments to the fruits of their research, occasionally stumbling into a serious topical matter or two along the way. Sounds like a legal confrontation between the Verne Company and Epstein Foundation is inevitable at this point. Sorry, there's a lot of talking today. I wonder if Renne's going to be in Calvard Art then. We know Renne's there, or he was. Renne's there. Okay. I know, I can't believe this is really happening. Both frowned at their screens. Recent development concerning the Calvardian industrial giant Verne Company had become a key source of concern for them of late. They better not challenge my lady friend's Alisa Reinford Company. Ooh! It began soon after Crossbow returned to normalcy, after the Supreme Leader's takeover the previous year. Professor Erica Russell approached the Verne Company to propose that they join the Resumurian Tech Union. We did see that in their Daydream, that she had been hard at work forming, and to no one's surprise, they refused. Before Erica and the rest of the engineers involved could even finish getting ready to go and change Verne's mind, something happened to make the Union the least of anyone's priorities. The independent development of a new generation of Augments, and their generation's long partner in this subset technology, Epstein Foundation, would not be a collaborator. They've always collaborated, ooh. The latter have been key supporters of Zemura's Augment development and Orbital technology in general since their very inception. Battle Augments were no exception to this. The Foundation had known their way around them since the very first model, drafting the incredible concept that had been used as a base ever since. Even the Reinford Company, before the Battle of Jormungand, had not thought to develop their Arcus models on their own, instead favouring to develop them in partnership with the Storied Institute. The announcement was, quite simply, unprecedented, and it sent shockwaves throughout the industry. The Epstein Foundation was also less than pleased about being cast aside in this manner. While there were certainly legal concerns regarding who owned the patent to this technology, the greater concern was that their stable position in the industry as a whole was now becoming unstable. Ooh. They initially responded by attempting to resolve this through peaceful means, but when those attempts proved fruitless, it was reported that they were preparing for what could only be an ugly international legal dispute. Why can't Zemura ever just get along? Seriously. I say Verne has the upper hand if this ever makes it to court. Unlike their previous Ramda Augments, this 6th generation is designed to set a whole new standard. All of its main features are packed with new tech, with some new features still being kept under wraps. I assume this is explaining the new combat system in the Calvard art. I've not seen it, but I know it's more hack and slashy, I think. I wonder what those are. What could they be trying to develop that's important enough to ruin their relationship with the Foundation? So I have heard about the government telling the Verne Company to focus more on where have we heard that before, ladies and gentlemen? Literally, Erebonia did that and then everything went to crap. So that's a good sign. I have too. It sounds like they're planning to significantly revamp the military's weaponry. The official story is that they're planning on slimming the military down, But if they're pairing that with the latest in weapons development, then they're still just as powerful, maybe more so. As part of the war's ceasefire agreement, Erebronia was required to downsize their military, bringing it more in line with that of Calvard's. Yet if the Republic were to expand its capabilities of its military, this recently forced equilibrium in superpowers would be quickly broken. Whatever may be true, I've got a lot of questions I need answers to. Maybe it would be worth visiting the Verne Company's headquarters in Basel at some point. We are going to go there, I assume. Oh, this is so cool. We've heard so much about Calvard and how big, bad and scary they are, but never seen a single bit. You haven't learned, at least I'm not aware of, you haven't learned anything more about where Professor Hamilton is at the moment, right? Nothing new or concrete at least. It sounds like she's continuing her research eastward, but I haven't heard anything more specific than that. Mum and Grandpa haven't had any luck in contacting her either. Not surprised since that area isn't very well connected, but it's still unfortunate. She's a lot more personable than Professor Schmidt, so having her on our side will be a help a lot. Tita could only laugh. Yeah, there's a lot of boring stories going around about PMCs and stuff like that. It makes me wonder if none of this would even be happening if she was still acting as an advisor for the Verne Company. The deeper into the conversation they went, the more Tita could feel her spirits sinking. The political climate in Western Zemuria was unusually stable at the moment, with its nations basking in prosperity, but she could not shake off the feeling that this peace was built over rotting wood. That's a phrase, and that it could all come crashing down with but the slightest provocation. Again, we saw that in the other Daydream, the other white one, that clearly the President is planning on something big. This was becoming especially true in the tech world, as it had undergone rapid growth in recent years compared to other fields. So rapid, in fact, that no base could possibly sustain its sudden weight without cracks beginning to form. Try not to dwell too much on the worst case scenario, Tita. This piece might rest... Oh my god. Sorry, I just had a massive coughing fit and I'll die. Yes, anyway. Try not to dwell too much on the worst case scenario, Tita. This piece might rest on a knife's edge, but there's still plenty we can do to preserve it. That's why I'm here right now, and that's also why you're working so hard too. We could find a million problems in the world if we wanted, but pessimism isn't going to make them go away, right? I'm such a pessimist, so that's me out. The words filled Tita with the right amount of comfort she needed in that precise moment. Yeah, I guess you're right. Thanks, Renne. Oh, they get on so well. Again, it's so weird seeing grown-up Renne and Tita, I must admit. They continued on, losing track of time as they talked well into the night. Before they knew it, the clock had struck 12. Well, it's getting really late. I should probably be going. I'll talk to you soon, okay? Alright, good night, Tita. Night. Oh! Tita suddenly remembered something. The exclamation stopped Renne just as she was about to end the call. Estelle and Joshua told me to ask if you're doing okay in school. Those two always worry too much. You think I wasn't talking to them too. She couldn't help but remember her interaction with Ronald after class. But Renne quickly drove the thought from her mind. It wasn't worth dredging up. Tell them they can rest easy. Everything's fine. Good. They wanted me to let you know. They wanted me to let them know if you were being bullied, so they could fly over and help. They would literally fly over there, punch him in the face, and they wouldn't even think twice about it. Renne could only sigh. Honestly, they think I can't keep myself safe from a few schoolyard bullies. Actually, they said they were more worried about what you do to them than what they do to you. Very true. At her friend's silence, Tita couldn't help but burst out laughing. Or about you two, obviously. They're probably right. How awful of you. Even if that were to happen to me, I won't do half of what you're imagining. Not anymore, anyway. See, it's saying that kind of thing that makes people worry. I'm a lady now. I need the magnanimity. Nailed it. To forgive the transgressions of others. I'm also trying to do what I can to avoid standing out too much at school. You can try, but I think that's always been a lost cause. Anyway, now I'm really going to go before I remember anything else. Say hi to Zin for me if you run into him. I'm planning to go and see him when everything calms down here, so will do. I've been meaning to go and see someone else I've been indebted to in the past too. By the time the two of them had finished talking and ended the call, one day had given way to the next. Sorry, I'm really dying. The morning dawned with yet another day off school. However, just as she left her classroom in the main building at the start of lunch and went to descend the staircase, she felt someone suddenly draw near from behind her. Reflexively, she dodged out of the way. A female student then entered her field of vision. She had lost her balance, her expression a mix of fear and surprise. She passed through the spot Renne had moments before, but her momentum showed no sign of fading. If someone didn't stop her, she was going to start tumbling down the stairs. Renne was quick to grab her and pull her close. She supported the girl's weight with one arm, with all the grace of someone taking part in a ballroom dance, saving her from falling. Several students happened to witness the event unfold. I could not help but elicit gasps of admiration. Yes, voice acting. Noticing that the girl's eyes were still unfocused, Rennes gently addressed her. Are you alright? You aren't hurt, are you? Finally realising the situation she was in, the girl whose face had become quite red quickly straightened her posture in a fluster. Yes, I'm okay. You're Ren Bright from the next class over, aren't you? Thank you so much for helping me. You're very welcome. But I would have to caution you from losing your composure like that, right next to a staircase. Do you have some really urgent business to take care of? Girl first frowned in response, then paused to think, and then answered. Nothing I could think of. It's weird, but even though it was probably my imagination, it felt like someone had pushed me from behind. Obviously no one here would do that, so I must have just bumped into someone by accident. It was Ronald, wasn't it? She thanked her rescuer again before disappearing into the distance. The situation she had deemed her imagination, however, lingered in Ren's mind. If I hadn't sensed something was amiss, both of us would have fallen down the stairs. We could have been badly hurt. Was it really just a coincidence? Or was it deliberate action by someone who wants to hurt me? If it was the latter, she didn't have anything to support this theory, but with it came a familiar sensation. The feeling of malicious stares focusing on her from the shadows. Was Ronald trying to take her out, like literally assassinate her? That's pretty shocking. It took surprisingly little time for her suspicions to gain evidence. After finishing gym class the next day, Ren made for the classroom and began preparing for her next lesson. As she did, she immediately noticed something was amiss. All of her textbooks had been glued shut with an excessive amount of adhesive. Try as she did to open them, it was a lost cause to get even a single page. It was an obvious attempt to harass her. Oh, Ronald was screwed. The culprits behind the act were equally obvious. Not far from where Ren was sitting, Ronald Griffith and his lackeys, whom she so memorably turned away 2 days prior, were snickering to themselves, their eyes mockingly focused on Ren all the while. They're not even interested in hiding what they're like anymore. I'm sure at this point they want to know who did it to intimidate me. This latest development also confirmed in her mind that they were responsible for trying to push her down the stairs the day before. That's really brutal. I know bullies can be absolute arseholes, but that's horrible. What a pitiful sight they were, because she refused to join their group. Her assistance was, in their eyes, now nothing more than a hindrance to Ronald's campaign of student council president. They would stop at nothing to either break her spirit and force her to join, or shame her into lowering her popularity among the student body. It didn't matter that Ren had no interest in taking part in the election. After further inspecting the state of her textbooks, Ren's expression grew difficult to read. I think I can make them usable again, noting what little time I have left before class. Bell soon chimed to signal the start of her lesson. Ren left her textbooks out on top of her desk, making no effort to open them throughout. Her instructor was, of course, less than pleased about this perceived slight against them, picking her to answer a question in an attempt to chide her poor behaviour. Miss Bright, please read the next paragraph aloud for us. Ronald and his friends let out a series of displeased giggles at this, their minds dilating at the thought of flustered Ren being told off and humiliated in front of the entire class. He needs such a slap. I will do it. I'll go to Calvard and slap him. I don't mind. But what transpired in reality played out very differently from their fantasies. Without missing a beat, Ren did exactly as she was told, reciting the selected paragraphs he had been asked to read, word for word. And all while her textbook remained closed. Did you memorise the entire book? Even the instructor could not hide their surprise. But of course, as a student of the Aramis Academy, I would never dare to compromise in preparing for my lessons. Ren responded with such grace that she, of course, drew in more sighs and coos of admiration from both her instructor and peers alike. It was only Ronald and his posse who groaned with sullen expressions. Get wrecked, Ronald. The next incident came on Ren's way to school the next morning. She entered the school gates with the horde of other students, just about to step into the building when she noticed a foul smell coming from above her. She looked upward, noticing a portion of the fencing surrounding the building's rooftop was falling directly above her. Are they trying to kill her? What is this? Other students noticed at the same time, letting out screams of horror and worries they could do nothing about. I could get out of the way easily if I wanted to, but the fencing was over 2 yards in length. She could escape unharmed, but the other students around her would likely not. That was a risk she was unwilling to take. Grasping the battle ornament hidden in her bag, she cried out, "Airstrike!" A sphere of wind formed in response to her incantation, flying upward at high speeds. She carefully controlled its power so that instead of sending the fence flying, it simply cancelled out its momentum instead, allowing her to hop and catch it with ease. She's so badass. This was no accident. The smell makes it obvious. It was a distinct scent of liquid extracted from a certain plant monster. One of its properties was to imitate the natural corrosion of metal, resulting in its application in certain solvents. This made the fence falling a deliberate action the perpetrator had been trying to disguise as an accident, and with Renne having been the target of several malicious acts already, the culprit was clear. Again, she could feel the presence of those familiar hateful stares pouring into her from the shadows. But again as well, they were not the only ones with eyes on her. Whoa! That was awesome! Did you see that? Is there anything she can't do? Renne's quiet meditation was disrupted by a multitude of cheers and applause from all around her. You're welcome. As if she were a performer just about to leave the stage, she gave an elegant bow in response. This would not be the last time she endured harassment from the Ronalds group. But each and every time they thought they bested her, she would handle herself with exemplary skill, their efforts only serving to make her more popular. The state of affairs continued for several more days, before a seemingly out of patience Ronald summoned Renne behind the school building after lessons were over for the day. I'm so sorry, I can't stop coughing. He stood oppressively before her, his lackeys behind him. The composure he attempted to feign before now replaced by a plain, vile anger. Go on, Renne, do him in. She's not even slightly bold, look at her face. Let me give it to you straight, Renne Bright. You are an eyesore. Even that gentlemanly air he impersonated before was gone. Really? That's not a very polite thing to say to a classmate. Don't try to act cute and innocent. I put too much damn time and mirror into building my position up at this academy. But who's always at the centre of attention instead? What? It's you. It's always you. It's like you're deliberately trying to sabotage my chances of success, and that's the last thing I can afford right now. The more livid Ronald became, the more unruffled Renne was in turn. You're only sabotaging yourself by setting me up to succeed over and over again. You are aware of that, aren't you? Had she not been forced to defend herself against him over and over again, she would not have received nearly as much attention. This being pointed out caused Ronald to return to an audible tut of frustration. Oh god, oh my god. Voice acting. Who cares about how it happens? The point is, this has gone on long enough, so I'm going to have to ask you to step off the stage for a while. What do you mean? Ronald seemed to present some of his initial cool from when they first talked as he answered. Oh, I mean something very simple. You just won't come to school until the election is over. And if I refuse? To this he raised his hand, and in response, his lackeys stepped forward to surround her. The boys were unusually well built for their age, showing off their hulking forms in hopes of intimidating him. Refusing is not an option, I'm afraid. You aren't going to oblige to me willingly. You will just have to make it so you can't come to school. This dude needs the biggest punch to the face of any. He's worse than Cedric. I'm just going to say it. This dude is worse than Cedric. His lackeys crack their knuckles dramatically to clarify their leader's intent. My evil acting. That's no good. I think we both know that would constitute a grave violation of the school rules. Something about her inflection caused him to mistake her commentary as showing a hint of fear, further fueling the desire to dominate the situation. No one's watching a place like this, and even if someone did happen to see, my father is a politician. He can make it go away. They don't willingly choose to ignore what they saw in deference to my position, that is. Everyone at this academy seems to already know their place, you see. Everyone except you. His smile then was so unpleasant that a sigh escaped Renne. Oh. Yes. Oh, I think you're the one who doesn't know your place. I don't want to be rough with him after what Tita said, but he needs to be taught a good, hard lesson. Go on, Renne. Ronald continued on, oblivious to what was running through his apparent victim's mind. Now do as I say. His lackeys drew closer, readying to seize her. I'll keep it mild, but I still want this to hurt for them. Just enough to set them on the right track. I don't think Estelle Joshua would object to that. But just as he was about to act... Stop this at once! The girl's shout could be heard from the direction of the school building. She was of course not shouting at Renne. And who are you? Ronald was visibly irritated. Though the girl appeared to be visibly nervous, she continued to stand her ground. Are you... the main girl? From the Calvard games? I know there's a main girl. Agnes? No. Is it Agnes? I don't know. I didn't mean to listen in, but I couldn't help but overhear what was happening here. Can't go through with this. What you're doing is wrong. girl stepped forward till she was directly in front of Renne to protect her from schoolyard bullies. As she did so, the light revealed sleek, dazzling blonde hair that shimmered much like the sunshine above. Renne recognised her to be the first-year student who lived in the dormitory next to her own. They weren't close to one another. At most, they only exchanged polite greetings with one another as they passed each other in the hall. Sorry, there's so much reading today. My voice is going. Joy seemed like a quiet, polite young woman with a good upbringing. However, not the type whose eyes would glow with resolve as she's put her well-being on the line for someone else. Renne was surprised by this, as was Ronald. Though he was less than impressed, he never fathomed that another student would dare to resist him. One thing he did sense was that her resistance was little more than a brave front. With excitement at the thought of stripping that front bare, he grew a sadistic smile on her dress there. Is it now? Well, how fortunate for me that I have you to show me the error of my ways. Renne can wait. You're a first year, I assume. I'm going to need to give you a lesson just how right and wrong works in our society. He is worse than Cedric. There's no denying. This might be the worst guy in the history of Trails. I'm just going to say, Ronald's a prick, alright? I'm just going to put it out there. Upon his signal, his lackeys shifted to surround their new target over Renne. She began to tremble as danger closed in on her, but still she did not move. Don't you dare! This time it was Renne who spoke up. I'll give you what you want, so don't you dare touch her. But you sure about that? She wasn't planning on that response, but Ronald was more than happy to have this win in any form. I'll stay away from school for a while. That's what you want, right? But then The experience of studying abroad has been rather tiring for me, so maybe I do need some rest. Renne's voice was gentle in an attempt to assuage the kind girl's concerns. Ronald, meanwhile, made no attempt to hide the joy he felt at victory, laughing heartily with all the glee of a small child. Oh god, this guy's such a douche. Good, now everyone knows their place here. I see no reason to harm either of you now that I've got what I want. Consider yourselves lucky now that I've decided to let you go. Ronald turned away, made to leave, his lackeys following suit. Good day to you then. When we next meet, this school will all be all mine. And then he was gone. With only the girls left behind the school building, the younger of the two looked up at her senior, concern welling in her expression. I really am alright. You're very kind to worry. Renne's smile was one of genuine kindness. Beep 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 beep. From then on, Renne did indeed stop coming to school, citing illness as the official reason for her absence. Oh, it's such a shame she couldn't just beat him up. The students then gathered in the Academy's auditorium, several days later for the long-awaited Student Council election. Aramis Academy as a whole placed great importance on the autonomy of its students, and as such, the Student Council exercised an unusual amount of power. It also weighed upon them a massive amount of responsibility, such as being the sole planner for the Academy's festival, a symbol and celebration of the spring in the capital. This, oh my god, sorry, trying here. Symbol celebration of spring in the capital. This, however, also led to the position being a major status symbol even long after graduation. All this was why a large number of students put their names forward to become the Student Council president every year. Yet this year, a great majority of the most promising candidates dropped out under mysterious circumstances, leaving only Ronald and others associated with him on the ballot. I couldn't exactly boast about winning by default. Ronald and his supporters sat in the rest area, chuckling among themselves at the whole affair. Perhaps his name wasn't the only one on the ballot, but none of the others had done any certifiable campaigning, meaning his election was positively assured. Eventually a time came for him to give a speech. It was a compelling one. He played a part of a respectable young gentleman as he delivered it, speaking with that same silver tongue he inherited well from his father. There were some moments where he failed to hide his arrogance, but as no one else had prepared a speech to give, this was not the blow to his campaign it otherwise would have been. Now if you could turn your eyes to the screen he spoke of was at the back of the auditorium. This was a rather notable feature to have in the school building, to have anywhere, and was installed several years prior for use in lectures and display recreational films. Other nations had yet to indulge in such luxuries, showing just how far ahead Calvard was in its technology. Up until then, students had used it to display photographs during their speeches, but Ronald intended to take it another step further. He wanted to share a promotional video, and not a simple makeshift, self-produced one that might ordinarily be presented by an amateur, but rather a professional work he had paid a considerable amount of mirror for. God, he's such a douche. Its quality was genuinely impressive. His victory was written in stone, but this, he knew, will cement it that much more. Convinced this will serve as the perfect beginning to his ascension to the top of the social hierarchy, he started the video. The musical number it played was rousing. It's a musical. Oh god, he's even more of a douche than I thought. Fitting. What followed then was Ronald appearing on the screen. So how much mirror do you want for supporting me? I can... She hacked it. She hacked it. So how much mirror do you want for supporting me? I can make it worth your while. What? The video playing before them was not one intended. Rather than an inspiration to show what he could bring to the student body, it was a recording of him buying off one of his opponents just days before. As hushed whispers of confusion spread across through the auditorium, the next clip played. If you know what's good for you, you'll withdraw your candidacy right now, or the only thing you'll be present of is a hospital bed. Next was an equally unexpected scene of Ronald intimidating another candidate into withdrawing from the race. As it continued, Ronald realised what was going on. Someone out there had replaced his carefully prepared video with another. The initially hesitant whispers exploded into loud enough murmurs that he had to raise his voice over them in an attempt to... Oh my god! I'm dying. In its attempt to quell the situation. But this is all forgery! Someone is attempting to frame me! Just at that moment, as if waiting for his cries of denial, a girl's voice resounded from the auditorium's entrance. I'm afraid it is all entirely genuine. Her voice rang out with a wonderful clarity, charming all who heard it. She ran her hand through her violet hair, flipped his back as she talked and walked slowly toward the stage. She's just completely done him in. I love it. Bribing potential threats, blackmailing, threatening, even executing violence against others, and many other cases of bullying besides. You are guilty on every single count, Ronald Griffith. Before anyone could fully understand what was happening, the student was on the stage and staring Ronald down. All eyes were fixed upon his elegant figure. Indeed, without any effort at all, she had the air of a protagonist from some epic tale making a long-awaited appearance. Damn it, Renne, must you insist on getting my way at every turn? He growled through a sheet of sheer anger. In contrast, the recently absent Renne responded with brilliant composure. You are the one getting in the way of the fair running of this important election. Your countless crimes have made a mockery of the whole process. Renne then turned to Ronald to the rest of the student body as she continued to list his crimes alongside the still running video. Some listed frowns, others sympathy, others complete silence, but by the time she was finished, all were united in a single overpowering emotion. Anger. Yes, it brings you no joy to say this about a fellow student, but I'm afraid it must be said. Ronald Griffith, you do not deserve to even attend this prestigious academy, much less be the president of its student council. Similar censure from other students followed in rapid succession. Yeah, she's right. Stop ruining our academy. You've gone too far. Renne's accusation wasn't the only reason for their anger. The students of Aramis had long loathed Ronald's oppressive behaviour. They only hadn't spoken up because they were afraid of his father's power. Now they realised it could be stopped, their anger had reached an explosive boiling point. Ronald suddenly found himself at the centre of a torrent of abuse. Good! He deserves it. He looked to his lackeys for support, but even they refused. As always, they're only there just because they want the power, but as soon as they get turned on, they run. It then dawned on him just how fragile all he thought he built was. Rage gave way to an instant deep despair, and, casting a glare of pure hatred toward Renne, Ronald hurriedly sprinted out of the auditorium. Only when he was completely out of sight did the air erupt with cheers of joy. In the end, addressing the aftermath of the election took long enough that by the time she left the gates, it was already evening. Yet even with how late it was, instead of walking her usual route home, she stepped off the path to enter an entirely unoccupied park. How does this work? No one is going to interrupt us out here, so how about you come on out? My god, this is just... We've been along for a ride. It feels like it's like a movie. In response to her words, Ronald emerged before her for the first time since he ran away earlier in the day, and with 10 or so companions in tow. These men weren't his usual lackeys, but instead vicious figures with dark expressions and gaudy clothing. They were clean-up students of the academy. More than likely, they belonged to some local gang. Don't keep very good company outside of school now, do you? How they're dressed up? I assume you must be off to a party or something. I'm going to wipe that smug smirk right off that face for good, Renne. My dazzling future in politics was guaranteed. Now you've gone and ruined everything. What am I supposed to say to my father now? That's your problem, not mine. Or are you so small a man that you can't own up to the consequences of your own mistakes? Well, second pass between his outburst and the manner in which she snapped back caused his temper to grow twice as vile. That's it! I don't care what it takes. You're going to pay for thinking you could cross me and get away with it. Have at her. There won't be any consequences for going too far, and my father will see to that. The men sprung into motion upon Ronald's signal. What followed made them doubt their eyes. Yes. Screenshot! Yeah, I mean, that scythe would terrify anyone. Ronald could not understand what just unfolded before him. His eyes relayed the information well enough, but his mind rejected it completely. The second after he ordered his new lackeys to attack, Renne had produced a monstrously sized black and gold scythe from thin air. This in itself was beyond comprehension, but it wasn't the last thing to do so. She's doing them all in, you gotta love it. The scene was like a cat toying with a powerless cornered mouse, except in this shocking case, Renne was the cat, and his men were the mice. They surrounded her at first, and yet all it took was a single swing of a conjured weapon to cause most of them to collapse to the ground. Well, yes. In less than 10 seconds, their confidence had crumbled with their bodies. The mice made to scurry as fast as they could, but the cat gleefully gave chase. There were even moments where she let a few think they had gotten away, only for her to immediately close a gap between them. It was only after she was bored that she would knock them unconscious like the rest. Then she would seek delight in her next hunt. Like heavy sacks of potatoes, the men fell one by one. By one by one, one by one, until only Renne and Ronald were left. He seriously messed with the wrong girl, to be honest. This can't be happening. The young man was still struggling to come to terms with what he just witnessed, as Renne stretched her limbs like a bored child, still gearing up to play. Amateurs, every last one of them. I thought I could have at least had some little fun. Oh, but don't you worry, I didn't actually slaughter them. She turned her gaze from the spectacle of her own creation to Ronald. God, I love it. Would you be open to me giving me a little more entertainment, perhaps, Ronald? Ronald twitched in fear at the moment of his name. In this moment, she was nothing more than a beast in human skin. Stay away from me. My father's in Parliament, you know. Try anything on me, you'll regret it. Her response was an expression of pure pity before tossing what appeared to be a magazine at his feet. To one of today's tabloids, you might find its contents relevant. What? At first he was baffled by this shift, but the second he peeked to the cover, his face went pale. Representative Griffith suspected of bribery, connections to organised crime. She's completely ruined him and love it. Read the headline in a giant punchy lettering. There's a whole special feature on Your Dearest Daddy, complete with evidence. It mentions that the CID is going to be conducting an investigation as well. This may well be the last day you can say he's in Parliament. My condolences. No. So visceral was his shock at the news, but a simple word was all he could muster. Even then, Renne wasn't finished. Wow. She's so... Oh, you gotta love Renne. So now he's been removed from the equation, I'll ask again. Would you be open to giving me a little more entertainment? She edged closer and closer, scythe in hand, and a sadistic smile lacing her lips. Ronald tried to retreat in fear before tripping over a rock and falling hopelessly on his backside. All he could do was watch her as though she were the Grim Reaper, tears and snot streaming down his face. Be a doll and play with me, and you'll understand why they used to call me the Angel of Slaughter. She raised her scythe above her head and ready to swing it downward before realising what she said. Oops, a grown woman wouldn't play with dolls, though would she? And here I thought I could better control my childish glee. She covered her mouth with her hand, blushing with feminine modesty at her slip-up. Oopsie. Acting. None of this was behaviour befitting a proper lady, she wanted to reflect. After composing herself, she turned her attention back to her prey, only to see he was already unconscious. Wow. Finished? As she left the park, the calm young man called out to her. I certainly am. Renne met eyes with a brown-skinned young man leaning covertly against one of the trees. It was safe to assume he had witnessed the entire affair unfold. And who are you, dear sir? He glanced inside the park for a brief moment before speaking with slight but genuine admiration. You really are something. In what way? In every way. Even if I was more struck by the hacking abilities of the famous Kitty than the combat prowess of the infamous Angel of Slaughter. Still hard to believe he managed to find dirt on his bigwig dad that easily. Renne's response was matter of fact, showing no sign his praise had gone to her head. Most people just aren't as cautious about cybersecurity as they ought to be, understandable with how new most are to it. Of course it isn't nearly as easy as this was when you're dealing with leading corporations and politicians at the top of the food chain. May it sound like you've tried before, hehe. Maybe I have. Renne's smile was both cryptic and darling. I've been more impressed with you. You were quick to write a piece that's scathing, while also finding me exactly the proof I needed. I'm glad Grace introduced us. Ooh. Oh, he's a reporter then. Just doing my job. The man's name was Dingo, and he was a professional reporter for a tabloid. He was extremely capable at his job, very well connected, and held a reputation for never shying away from danger. After being introduced to one another by Grace Lynn, he and Renne made a deal with one another just a few days prior. The terms were simple. Dingo would provide Renne with proof of Ronald's misdemeanors, and Renne would use her hacking abilities to provide evidence of his father's crimes. Both were now reaping the rewards of the other's success. Though I'll admit that I did get some help from a friend who was none too pleased about being asked to look into scummy politicians' equally scummy son. But we pulled through. Oh, you just have all kinds of connections, don't you? She did sense someone other than Dingo was acting on her behalf while she was off school, but she wasn't sure who that someone was. This curious sensation regarding her identity remained as she continued the conversation. You know, I'm surprised she didn't meet with any resistance in writing that story. That just goes to show how big a fan the government was of Griffith. They left him alone because he didn't actively oppose the current president's party, but from the CID perspective, this chance to take him down was about as good as it was going to get. It does sound like something Miss Taito Master over there would do. Can't say I like the feeling of being used by her, but oh well. Dingo then made a curious observation. I have to wonder why he went to such lengths to get rid of a small friar like him. He really bother you that much? Renne glanced briefly at Ronald, still collapsed on the ground of the park before shrugging her shoulders dismissively. Not in the least. I didn't intend for this to go as far as it did, either. I wanted to teach him another lesson, so he'd leave me alone, but it was then the youngest student who tried to save her came to mind. I think the students deserve a much better student council president than him. She then let out a titter that was most refined. As Renne expected, the allegations led Ronald's father to resign from Parliament, while he resigned from Aramis Academy. The group of students who exerted power over the student body with his backing vanished overnight as a result, bidding peace to return to the grounds for the first time in too long. One thing, however, came about from this that Renne had not expected in the least. Here are all the documents relating to the next month's budget. Oh, see it now. The student council's new president accepted the documents from the blonde-haired first year in charge of general affairs, perusing them straight away. After Ronald dashed from the auditorium on the day of the election, most of those in this group who put down their name dropped out in a timely fashion. Voting still took place even then. Once all was said and done, nearly 70% of the votes cast were disqualified. This was because they were all in favour of someone who never had put her name on the ballot. Renne Bride. Aramis Academy was known for how little its staff interfered with the many liberties it gave its students. By this time, the staff was clearly concerned that dissatisfaction with Ronald was going to present dire problems in the future. Teachers then chose to directly negotiate with Renne, and in the face of such fervent demand, she reluctantly accepted the position of student council president. Everyone gave Renne's round of applause. None of her duties posed a challenge to her, but by accepting it, she had completely and utterly failed her initial goal of avoiding attention. I wonder if this is how Falls Branch Campus' first ever student council president felt when he was elected. Even I couldn't believe it when Tita told me. Alright, it is what it is. I suppose I'll just have to make use of this the best I can. Go. Sunlight beamed into the student council room. The blonde-haired girl and two of her friends struggled with the new workload they were adjusting to. As Renne sat there, ears open to random talk and the occasional grumble, a thought crossed her mind. Oh, I need a drink. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, man. Sunlight beamed into the student council room. The blonde-haired girl and her two of her friends struggled with the new workload they were adjusting to. As Renne sat there, ears open to random talk and the occasional grumble, thought crossed her mind. She had no end of real-world worries. The problems arising from rapid technological development, the society's next move, the ominous winds of change blustering over Calvard. But despite all those, she wanted to enjoy her simple time here while she could. We'll say we get this work done so we can celebrate with a tea party. The arrival of spring was now a distant memory. Even if summer had yet to come, there was nothing particularly spectacular about this time. It was just another ordinary, beautifully bright afternoon. Is that the end? Yes. An unconventional student, the end. Ooh. That another strand added. So is there a third one then? Because there was a third strand, there was. Oh, there is a third one. Ooh. Ooh, I'm curious. Forward, sword in hand. Well, if that's Reen, LeBeau, maybe that's Lloyd, I don't know. Anyway, Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you saw, feel free to like, comment and subscribe. And let me know how much you hate Ronald. He deserves all of the hate. And it's so nice to see Renne, well, you know, kick his ass, I'll be honest. These have been amazing. These have actually been awesome. But there's a reason why that one was secret though, right? Intriguing. Anyway, yes. I'll see you guys in the next Beyond the Reverie episode. Charles. God, I need a break. That's all. My voice is done.